Okay, we are now recording. All right, thanks everyone for joining us today for the our nopCommerce global meetup. And tonight should be a really good one. Best practices within plugin development with Sandeep from NopAdvance. And there we go. So being a global meetup, of course, this is a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening. And it's understandable that this is just out of the time frame for you to join this. Just clarify that we are recording now, and we plan to intend to really record the entire meetups from this point forward. In the past, we would only record just the main talk itself, but kind of makes sense just to record the entire meetup. That way, people get a feel for what's all available. So today, going through some announcements, I'm going to have a lightning talk on some nopCommerce source code strategies, which will then go into the main talk of some plugin development best practices that Sandeep's gonna do. Overall, we plan to wrap things up here in about 2 hours max. We'll take Q&A mostly after the main talk. So even if you have some questions for myself after doing the lightning talk, we'll probably hold off on answering a lot of those until the main talk is complete. So this is a monthly meetup, and we've been able to keep that cadence of a monthly meetup since we started a couple months ago. And this is for developers and store owners. Next month, actually, we already have that out we have some details out on meetup.com to where it's going to be more of a best practices and theme development. And there's a good chance I might do a lightning talk on just some basics of theme development, but nopTemplates is going to share our best practices on that area. And if you do have any questions or things that you might want to see from that particular talk, feel free to email me at john@nopacademy.com, and I'll forward on those questions. Or you can email sales@noptemplates.com. And these meetups are getting posted out on the nopCommerce YouTube channel, noptube.com. I created that to redirect you right to the YouTube channel if you have trouble finding it. And again, we've been posting each meetup out there. We've already had some really good recordings when it comes to what's new in nopCommerce 4.3, as well as installing nopCommerce on a Windows machine. I had a lot of takeaways from that talk from a tool. And to wrap things up here on the announcements, if you are interested in speaking, giving a main presentation around 60 to 90 minutes, or even a lightning talk, feel free to reach out to me. Or we also accept sponsors. So if you want to simply have your company logo on the meetup post and have the first few minutes of the meetup itself to say a few things about your company, again, just feel free to reach out to me, john@nopacademy.com. All right, so I'm going to jump into my lightning talk, and then we'll go into the main talk. All right, and I'm assuming everybody can see my screen. Okay, so nopCommerce source code strategies. This was actually a portion of a talk I gave at an annual conference, I think 2018. That I've also had just people reach out to me about source code strategies. And with the talk tonight, or today, when it comes to plugin development, there might be some aspects in how you have to structure your code, or just, if you inherit, let's say, a nopCommerce solution, you might have to do some restructuring of your code just to kind of be able to effectively move forward with that code base. And that's kind of what happened to me on a project. So these are a little bit of ways of lessons learned. For this short presentation, if you want a copy of the slides, just email me, and definitely send you a copy over any artifacts I might mention as well. So this is a case study in many ways. So johnnymax.com was a local sporting goods store that had an online site. It's your typical online site. I think one of the out-of-the-box themes was applied, and a good handful of customizations to manage their particular operation. Well, Johnny Max has since closed, which is unfortunate. Well, actually, they sold themselves, so they did pretty good. But I did a bunch of work for them. So if you actually went out to the site today, I don't even know if it's even up anymore. But nonetheless, that store did close, and they sold themselves. And I think the owners are doing pretty well right now. So the project really consisted of being an integration project to where they had their storefront system because they were a brick and mortar operation, and then they had their online system for nopCommerce. And I was initially brought in to not only do some nopCommerce enhancements, but also to work through some integration aspects between their internal system and nopCommerce, where we're working towards this workflow management process, a separate system. Nonetheless, when it came to nopCommerce, we had, at that point in time, we had to deal with the current version that was in place of version 3.7. And that version 3.7, we were looking at taking it for what made sense to version 3.9. And that meant that we were going to basically skip over version 3.8 and go right to 3.9. Also at the time, we had to consider what we were going to do for the future, because we did want to go towards at the time was the 4.0 version. But we knew we were going to go to 4.0, it'd probably be 4.1, 4.2, whatever that versioning was going to be in the future. But we basically needed to kind of prepare ourselves to even keep changes up to date against development, or at least be aware of them. So 4.0 we knew we were not going to do, but it was the chance that we were going to go to 4.1. For this project, we did get to 3.9, but that's as far as it went. But overall, for the code base, and how we were making changes, because I inherited this project where there were changes in the code base, and there's a good handful of plugins as well. But overall, for the source code, needed a safer way to deal with these upgrades. So some of the source code strategy we're going to cover, basically a creative way of dealing with source control. So when it comes to looking at tags and change history, those are really two separate things, and we're going to try to make that a little bit more visual for you in this slide deck. You can use linked files. Now, this may not be as popular with ASP.NET Core, but this is still a feature you can use where you can have a pristine copy, a very clean copy of the code base, and basically only change and have things separated for what your business logic is if you can't do something at a plugin level. Or if you want to clean up a project that someone else did where they're changing the code, there's a way to move forward with linked files. We'll talk a little bit about that. And the one aspect here, might be a little more practical for today, to where when it comes to making these custom code changes, there's some simple aspects that you could apply to where you can use partial classes and as well as nested files. Let's jump into some of these. All right, so when it comes to creatively integrating source control, so when you basically check out your copy from GitHub of nopCommerce itself, I recommend checking it out two different ways. One of them is just using Git. And let's say you're using Tortoise Git to pull that down, or another tool for that. But you can also connect GitHub with SVN, Subversion. And what's kind of nice about connecting it with Subversion is that it gives you these different branches, these tags, where they're visible on your file system. So yeah, these extra files are on your file system, but they're kind of there in a way to where you can kind of work with those individual versions a little bit easier. So yes, more files on your hard drive, but still you might want that when it comes to really comparing these different versions. So you can use the tags, that way you can have, like we needed a pristine copy of that version 3.7, as well as, for example, we needed a copy of what was going on in trunk at any given time. Now these tags don't really change, which is good, but nonetheless, it's still good to have that clean copy for what is in the nopCommerce source control. So we were using for this project TFS, which is Azure DevOps, and we basically mirrored what Subversion does at a file system level, to where we had these tags and we had the different versions out there that we were kind of using. I even had to refer back to 3.6 sometimes, to where we brought over that pristine copy of 3.7 and the other latter versions. So we had this folder that had only the changes for this given implementation inside of it. So if we had to modify a CS file or the project files, that's where we would find those change files only. You'll see a better picture of this here shortly. And that way we could prepare for 3.9 and kind of tweak the location where we had to make changes, as well as looking into the future, what we might have to carry forward. So, there was definitely an incentive to try to put more into plugins, but there were some things we just probably, couldn't really make time for. We just needed to structure the source code in a way to where we could simply move forward and get releases out. All right, so let's look at the power of linked files. This is a feature within the CS project format that you can utilize as a feature built into Visual Studio when it comes to adding a file. So if you're going to do this manually, you would basically select a file. Instead of just clicking on add, you could change. You can click on the drop down and select add as link, which is pretty cool. And what that gives you, if we look at the solution that's within the folder that we're making a bunch of changes for this Johnny Max implementation, we are noticing that files that we added as a link look a little bit different than the files that we actually had to modify and that are actually in the same folder as the solution. And that's, you have this little bitty shortcut kind of picture that kind of shows what files are referenced by a link versus what files are really in that same folder as the solution and project. But from working with the solution, it really feels like all the files are in that same location, which in the end, as a developer, you get that same view and workflow that you have as if all the files are in that same folder. And those changes in this particular file, these were real changes we had to make. Or I didn't have to make, these are real changes that were there that, we had this empty if null extension method that was used in a good handful of spots. And so this is where it was modified. And also those using statements were added at the top to make that happen as well. I know this is very hard to read, so I really just want to highlight more of the colors and the differences here to where you have this extensions.cs file where you kind of see, hey, it's blue because there's differences there in that file. More importantly, and this is what I think where the value comes in, where you see it's kind of pink, those are files that are not in the modified folder, and that's really good. So those are all the files that we just did not touch, but we're referencing from the CS proj file. And we were going to do a file compare. We would see those two changes being different than the original file. So that in itself has value, but there's even a better way to then not make changes to the original file. We're going to cover that here pretty soon. So some other aspects when it comes to the project file itself. Now, the project file, you would want to carry forward into the modified version. There's a good handful of reasons. First off, that project file is, well, for one, it's usually pretty ugly to look at least the older format is. The newer format is a lot cleaner. In other words, the newer format of ASP.NET Core. So inside of here, in the older format, you'd see this compile include type reference. And if you wanted to point to a linked location, it would look like this. I actually wrote a little utility to kind of take all the compile include references and switch them over to link references. So doing this manually, yes, it's not really easy to use and maybe not even practical. But if you have a need to really kind of work through and clean up a code base, after you do this work, it is crazy valuable. Now in ASP.NET Core, this is not out of the box to where whatever file is in that folder is what it's going to use to compile. So that is really a new feature to where you don't have to have all these file references. You can select a file in the solution and click on ignore, but I don't recommend going down that path. There is a way to enable this older way of doing things of tracking files within the newer format. I can't think of it offhand, but nonetheless, there is a way if you want to go to this level. The other value of doing this is that you can target a different version of the framework if you really wanted to without changing, not changing, but always having a reference of the original CS proj. So, the solution as well, but nonetheless, I remember we were targeting version 4.5.2, which was actually getting out of support from Microsoft for the 3.7 version, and we wanted to target the newer version. But along with having the ability to freely change the target while keeping a pristine copy, we could also upgrade our NuGet packages and have a reference of what was it originally versus what it is for what we wanted to change it to. So you can get to this level of ultimate control of a lot of these files within nopCommerce, especially if you're trying to clean things up, getting things organized, and better prepare yourself to do some plugin development. All right, so to kind of wrap some of this up, when it comes to managing custom code, now this is something you might want to actually do today if you have to make any code changes. So in the same example of this extension CS file, I took this file and kind of broke it into two files to where we used the aspect of partial classes. So I did have to modify in the original file put the word partial in there, but I could have the work at a separate file. So when it comes to doing code differences, I could actually see, what really did change a lot easier. So if you have a large file, like a control or something like that, where you're making changes, doing something like this has a lot of value. You might want to call, the file like I did here, like .added, meaning like new routines, or .updated, to where it's kind of clarified that you either changed something or added some new functionality in that file that's not there in the original code. All right, so to kind of wrap that up, you think about how you're integrating. It's always good to have a copy of how nopCommerce is coming from GitHub, and then having that in your own repository as well, and trying to draw some parallels there. If you have to go to the level of using linked files, after you go through the pain, I think, of doing that, there's a lot of rewards there. If you're dealing with a code base that has a bunch of changes and you're in the process of maybe switching that to a lot of plugins. And lastly, if you have to customize code, you can use partial classes and the nested files as well. I kind of blew past nested files just because I'll even kind of jump back a screen, just because I don't know, it kind of hides it. So that CS file kind of hides the other file, which you might like, but then it's not that obvious to a developer where the changes are. You have to expand that node to see that nested file. And it also gets a little confusing by what Visual Studio does with the just kind of showing you the extensions, how it looks at a code level. So I like nested files. I used to love nested files. I haven't used them as much in recent development. All right, so to wrap a lot of this up, feel free to reach out to me, John at nopacademy.com, consulting work. More importantly, I'm going to be releasing nopacademy.com, which is going to be geared around training. And when it comes to, I really don't do much consulting work as much as I do coaching work around nopCommerce. So for teams, individuals, even working through roadmap sessions. Again, email me if you want a copy of the presentation, if you want to present at the meetup. If you have any questions, advice, send me an email. There's a good chance I might even just want to set up a team session with you and just kind of talk through stuff. I typically don't worry about getting paid too much, whatnot. I've had this conversation about source code strategies with about 3 different companies over the last month. And yeah, I just enjoy the conversations, and I've been getting a lot of emails since starting the meetup as well, and keep them coming. I've been enjoying seeing the activity around nopCommerce, and if there's anything I can do to help, I'll reply back for what that can be. All right, so I am going to exit this presentation, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Sandeep, are you ready to go?
Yes, Baluka.
All right, let me fix this real quick. All right, I'm going to turn off my video and mic, but I am going to monitor the chat for questions, and at the end I'll kind of put those questions up on the screen, and Sandeep will kind of review those questions together. Okay? Unless someone's bold enough to go ahead and ask a question, and I'm okay with that too. All right, thanks everyone. All yours, Sandeep.
Okay, thank you, John. Hello everybody. Am I audible? Okay, yes.
We hear you, but we don't see your screen yet.
Not having that good gesture to present myself. It is fine if I don't present my turn on my camera.
Yeah, you don't have to show your camera, but if you have, if you're going to show your desktop.
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. Wait. Let me find the option. I will be presenting my complete desktops because I will need to switch to multiple applications.
There we go. I see your desktop.
Okay, so hello everyone. Good evening, good morning. So starting with my introduction, I am Sandeep Chaudhary and I am a co-founder and I work as a CTO at NopAdvance. And today I will show you how to create a basic plugin with few simple steps. Okay, so this is the source code of 4.3, nopCommerce 4.3, the latest version. Okay, and here you can see the complete structure. Now, as we are creating a new plugin, so I will just right click on the plugins, add a new project. Okay, and now I will select the class library .NET Core. I'm having it pinned in my recent project templates. Okay, next. Now you can name the project whatever you want, but I will like I say I will follow the nopCommerce structure, so it don't like look different from the other plugins. So I will again name it as nop dot plugin dot. I will name it as widgets because I will show you an example of creating a basic widget plugin. Okay, now here make sure to change the directory to plugins folder over here. So it will be created under plugins folder. Next. Now here you can see the plugin, the project has been created. Now I will delete this class file. We don't need this class file. Now we will add just to make sure you have to make sure that the target platform should be not 3.1 core app 3.1 for this 4.3 nopCommerce 4.3. Now I will add some mandatory properties to the solution of this project. By adding, I will also explain. Okay, here we are setting the output path. You can see the output path is set to the plugins. And it is the path of this under nop.web, the plugins folder. Make sure it should be the output path should be this under this plugins folder under nop.web. So here you can see we have having the same path over here, nop.web plugins with just basic plugin. Now this is the system name of your plugin. I will show you why this. I will tell you why this system name is, where and why it is needed. Okay, and now this path is where this property is whether you have to means is used for if you are installing any NuGet packages. So and you want to, you can see the comment over here. If you make it true, then only the NuGet packages will be copied to your plugin folder. Now I will add some other properties. Okay, in this I have added the reference of nop.web.framework project, where we will get the all of the references we need to create a plugin. And this is the property we have added to clear the unnecessary files created by whenever we build, whenever .NET Core builds a project, it will copy all of the reference project files, the unnecessary files also, which will take much space. So we need to add this tag also. So that's it in the property section. Now we will move to adding the mandatory files. I will simply copy this plugin.json file. I will paste it over here. Now I will change the friendly name. It can be anything, whatever you need in the friendly name. I will name it basic plugin. And the widgets. Now the system name, which I have previously mentioned. Now this and this the system name should be the same. This is how the nopCommerce read by the system name, the folder name. It is the system unique identification of your plugin. Okay, and we will make it as version 4.0. Now this is the file name. So you can simply copy your project's name and you can paste it over here. And this is the DLL which will be created after building the project. Okay, so under this folder, the nopCommerce will, what we'll do is under this folder, it will try to find this DLL file. This plugin, I will also change some description is to that's it in the plugin.json file. And remember, this is a mandatory file. It is the basic information of the complete. This is the complete information of your plugin. And again, I will add a logo file, means image file. Here, when you add a logo file, image file, it is not compulsory. You need to add. Here is the logo file. Whichever you add is shown will be here in the plugins list page, in admin section. So the file name should be compulsory as logo name, and the extension right now the supported extensions are PNG, JPG, and GIF. Our file is logo.jpg. And this logo file is not compulsory. Now I will add a class file which we will give all of the information we need to do during installation. You can say the base file of the plugin. I will name it as a basic plugin.cs. I will make it public. Now I will inherit base plugin from nop.framework, by which it will recognize that it is a plugin and it will provide us some information, some methods to override. See, if you go into the base plugin, it is providing us methods which we can override, we can implement. It is an abstract class. So if your plugin is having a configuration page, you can use this method and define the configuration. And if you need to do anything during the installation of a plugin, you can use this install. And if you need to do anything uninstall, you can use this uninstall method. And this is update. This is newly introduced in 4.3 to apply the updates, applying the migrations. And this is prepare plugins to uninstall. So if you need to stop your plugin installation, if it is dependent on any other plugin and this plugin should not be uninstalled, before that the dependent plugin is uninstalled, then you can handle it in this function. Here you can see this beautiful structure of nopCommerce. Each and every methods are having their comments. Okay, so if I say your plugin is now ready to install. So if you are not having anything to do while installation, while uninstallation, or you are not having configuration page, so you don't need to implement over here. If I say your plugin is ready, you can simply build and you can See in the plugin list page. Let me show you. So now let's see the output path where in nop.web in plugins. Here you can see under nop.web widgets.basic plugin. See the plugin DLL, what we have mentioned in plugin.json file also. And yes, sorry, I've just missed some things. Make sure whenever we add a content file, whether it's plugin.json, logo.jpg, make sure to make it build action as content and copy if newer. To make sure they should be copied as of now logo.png, I will set it to content, copy if newer. So whenever I build this project, all of my content files should be copied at my output path. So previously it was not there, now it is there. Now I will debug. Okay, it's taking a bit longer, but that's fine. I will log in into admin panel. Okay, here we can find the plugins under configuration, local plugins. See here, you can see our plugin has been listed in the plugins list page. I can install it, but it is like we haven't gave any purpose to this plugin. So it will do nothing when means either if it is installed, it will do nothing. It will change nothing in the nopCommerce. So now let's give it some purpose. So I will show you an example of widget plugin. I will, for example, I need to so if, for example, I need to show some content over here in this section. So I will do, we can do that through a plugin. I will show you how to do that. Again, you can see this is an Evo slider. This is a plugin itself. So I will add in the same widget, we will add some other contents. So what I need to do is I will be inheriting okay, now it is an interface. So we will have to implement this interface. The first property is of hide in widget list. So what it means, if we need to, so in this admin section, there is a widget section in widgets where all of the widget will be displayed. So this says that if we need to display that widget over here or not. If we make it like hide in widget list true, then that widget will not be shown over here. We will make it as false. That's fine if it is shown over here, so we can active and inactive from there. So if you are making it true, then we will have to manually activate that widget, because by default it will be in inactive state. That is why we are making it as false, so we can activate it from the widget list. Okay. I will just replace it with and also the required namespaces. Let me copy all of the folders so I can explain them. So we have copied three folders. One is for components. It's like widget. Widget is through so displayed to the view component. It's a MVC feature, and here is the name of that component, and it's the widget list, in which widget we should be showing our content. So we are using the in this home page tab. Here you can see the complete list of public widget zones. You can identify them to the view files where they are mentioned. This is our model. You can see we have created a sample model, and this is the display text. And now this is our component. We have inherited not view component. Now why we have inherited not view component, not directly the view component. We could have directly, but you can see the comment over here why we are doing that. So whenever we need a event, means model prepare event. So for the view component, you can say the components are not part of the controller lifecycle. Hence, we could no longer use action filter to intercept the models being returned as we do in this. So these are the actually through action filter, we can intersect the controllers to change anything in the model. But in the view component, we can't do that. So that is why we are inheriting this NOP view components from where we can get the model prepared event. So here it is publishing this event and we can consume it to the events. For example, having a ready-made plugin, let's say this Nivo slider. So I don't need to change the source code of Nivo slider. So based on the model prepared event, by consuming that, I can modify the model. That is why we are inheriting NOP view component. So it is the new component view, and here you can see we are preparing the model. And now I've set the display text, and this is the text. This is the plugins basic plugins test. And the view path. See, the view path is under plugin. This is again the system name. The system name here you have to mention the system name. Views public info.cshtml, and again make sure to set it as content. Copy if newer. And let's see the view file. There is nothing in the view file. We have just sorry.
Que íbamos a ir solos en esa, o sea, siempre lo han hecho así. Pues nosotros no hemos terminado.
Okay.
You're okay to continue.
Yeah, thank you. Here what we are simply displaying the text from the model itself, HTML. So you can support the HTML text also. So we have a HTML.row model.display text. We can write HTML also over here. These are the only required files for creating a widget plugin. Now I will simply make sure to every time make sure to build this project whenever you make any changes, so the changes, the DLL will be copied again over here, because it is not a dependent project of Node. So if you directly debug without building it, directly debug, the changes will not be affected. So every time if you are changing anything, make sure to build it. I hope we have copied all of the required files. Again, I will debug this project. See here. Now our plugin is ready to install. So I will say install. Now it is asking for restart application. So what it does basically is it will add, there is a file under app data under nop.web. Okay, it is plugins.jsl file. So now plugin names to install. So our plugin is ready to install now. So whenever we are restarting our application, our plugin will be installed. So as we are doing through Visual Studio itself, so I will not be doing it through browser. I will directly stop and run it again. And if it is hosted in the IIS, you can simply like restart application to apply changes. So whenever you are installing a plugin, you have to compulsory restart the application. Okay, now you can see our plugin has been moved from plugin names to install under from installed plugins. So our plugin has been installed successfully. Here is the version also. Again, we will go to administrator. So it is a widget plugin. So as I said, we will have to activate this widget basic plugin. You can see our plugin has been listed in the widgets list. So by default, it is in its inactive state. So we are not having any configuration page for our plugin. So there will be no configure button over here. We will simply add it and make it as active. So before that, let me activating this plugin. Let me open the public store so I can show you the changes here. Now, right now, you cannot see anything except this slider, Nivo slider. Now I will activate our plugin, our widget update. Now I will simply refresh. Okay, I think it has been hidden under this. So what I will do, I will just deactivate Nivo slider so I can see our plugin's text. Okay, yeah, here you can see. So it was like overridden with the Nivo slider CSS, not a big deal. So here you can see we have just inactivated the Nivo slider and we have activated our plugin. So see this is the text coming from our plugin. Here you can to the widget you can put anything, sliders or any contents or anything you can do with the widget plugins. Now nopCommerce offers many types of plugin. You can do anything. You can almost do anything to the plugins. It depends upon your need. If it's like widget, if you need to create a widget plugin, you can use the iWidget plugin. If it is for payment, you can use iPayment method. See, you can also find examples of almost all type of applications in the default source code also. There are every kind of plugins nopCommerce is already providing out of the box. So it depends upon your purpose, upon your use. Okay, so that's it with the plugin explanation. It was like a presentation of simple. And if we talk about the best practices, yes, of course. So I would recommend to, for example, like I have already explained about the best practices also while explaining the means creating these plugins. But again, I will focus some main things. If we talk about the best practices, so I would recommend that we follow the nopCommerce structure itself because it is already beautifully coded by nopCommerce itself. For example, if we go to another plugin, for example, Nivo slider. See the naming conventions and the folder structures. If you are creating a component, make sure to create a component folder and place them under one component folder, the models, the views. Because if you go to the nopCommerce structure also, they are also naming the models, controllers, components. So it won't make any confusion on, and again it is the text is. So that was the creation of the basic plugin, and I've shown you with few simple steps. I hope this is very simple. So now by this presentation, I think anyone can develop a plugin. It is not there because nopCommerce is means again you can find many pluggable architecture in the market, but the flexibility was what nopCommerce provide is beyond imagination. You know, you can do anything with the plugin itself. Now you
Sandy,
guys.
one of the questions that's coming up in the chat, and since you're
Yes.
showing your screen still, could you go to one of the examples, excuse me, that shows where you're needing to do some data access, where you have to implement maybe even some migrations within your plugin? So maybe one of the out of the box ones. I think that fixed or by country or state and zip might be one of them. I'm trying to remember offhand. But if you go back to your Solution Explorer.
Sorry, yes, it's like you were asking about the update thing.
Yeah, when it comes to, like, let's say you need a plugin to create its own table to track some other data. I know there's an example to pull from one of the plugins that comes with nopCommerce. I believe you could go to that fixed or by country state zip tax.
Yes, sure. So I can show you from the existing plugins.
Or fixed by weight and total. I'm trying to remember exactly offhand.
Yes.
There you go. Yes, that's a good one to show. And maybe, I don't know if you could walk through a little bit of that one on, you know, creating your own domain and what the migrations look like.
This is the entity. Means you can see the table. Here are all of the properties under the domain folder. And now, yes, again the schema migration. You can, if you need to do, again it was a like challenging part for me because this was introduced in nopCommerce 4.3 also. I had to go everything what they did in the new version of nopCommerce 4.3. So previously it was not like this. We were using entity framework, so previously it was very different from the current thing. If we talk about the previous versions, if we having any table, we would have to done it to the install method of the plugin itself. But now here you can see just you need to create a mapping over here for your entity in the end. The table will be automatically installed by nopCommerce. You don't have to create any context file or anything. And if, for example, like for now we have created a plugin, our plugins version is 1.0. Now we are upgrading our plugin. So what we will need to do is, if we need to do any manual migrations, so we can use this method, update method. We can do here, we can get the current version and the target version. For example, I'm upgrading my plugin to 1.1. and we can implement this method and we can do a custom code using this method. But the migrations will be applied automatically. We can use this method in the base plugin file itself. You can override that plugin and make the use of that method. So what that mean? Any more questions from anybody?
Yeah, there's quite a few coming in the chat. I say go ahead and keep sharing your screen. I will. Let's see. Is there anything you want to? I'll tell you what. I'll go ahead and share my screen. That way you can we can look at these questions together.
Okay, yeah, sure. I will be stop sharing my screen.
Sounds good. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Let's scroll to the top. Now I'll zoom in a little bit more because there were a lot of good questions and answers. And many people were actually replying as well, which was great. All right, so this was something I wasn't aware of. So someone was asking a question, is there a possibility to have a template out there? So if you do like a project new in Studio, and it looks like that has been created, which is kind of cool. Just yes, so it's worth checking out. I wasn't aware of that myself. Any other suggestions when it comes to project new? Do you have any certain best practices that you use within NopAdvance when you create new projects? Like, do you have your own template that's kind of that you kind of maybe even just copy the files over and use those, or what are some of the things that you do within NopAdvance?
No, so we are not having any template like that. We just follow the nopCommerce plugin itself, and we just copy them and create a plugin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is it compulsory to set the folder name as the same as the system name?
Yes, yes, it is compulsory.
Okay.
Yeah, because based on the system name, nopCommerce will look for the same folder.
Okay. How can I create a widget plugin with two different components view at the same time in public page?
Yes. So what we can do in the same view component file, we can, if I can, means I don't know. I will try to explain without sharing my screen. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Let me stop
For
sharing.
example, we have created a component file. So in that we are having a parameter of widget zone. So we can
go ahead and share your screen.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought you were going to share your screen. No.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Sorry. Let me share my screen.
Go right ahead. Yep.
So what we can do, okay, here you can see in this plugin, here we are, see here it is accepting the list. So you can mention as many ad widgets you need to consume over here. You can, and so here you can get the widget zone name over here. So based on this widget name, you can put a condition if the widget plugin matches this home page. So based on that condition, you can display whatever you want. Like for example, based on my first widget, I need to show my name, and based on the second widget, I need to show my surname. Here you can put that condition. Again, you see, like if let me. So now you can see this text will be displayed only on this widget in case we are using multiple widgets. So now this text will be displayed only on homepage top widget. Else, or as like it is a return type method, so we have to return something compulsory, else you can, like if you are having any else on this widget sheet, you can return anything you want. Or also you can write a if condition over here also for this widget. And yes, I'm just like, to remove this error, you cannot return null over here, you have to return something. Here you can do, here is the way you can do by using the multiple widgets, So did that answer your question? That question, I think.
I think so. Actually, can you see the chat as well?
Yes, sure.
Great. Why don't we just keep sharing your screen, because you might be bouncing back and forth. If you want to go to the chat. Yeah, perfect. Let's see. There's a good handful of questions. Keep going up a little bit. We talked about data access. Yeah.
Okay, again.
Yes, that's where we are. So scroll down just a little bit. We answered that one. And that's the one you just addressed.
Okay, migration is somehow means I think I did that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is like presentation of a a basic plugin. If we include all of the things, I mean it is a lot of things we can do to plugins. If we include everything, then I think this presentation will take much longer. So I don't think I will be able to show examples of each and everything.
That's understandable. And if you really want to understand how the migrations changed within 4.3, I did give a overview of, at a code level, what it looks like in the solution that kind of carries into the plugins. So yeah, that what's new in nopCommerce 4.3 might be worth checking out if you want to get a better feel of the migration strategy.
So it is done through the Fluent Migrator. They are using the Fluent Migrator for the migration, and it is everything is done to that Fluent Migrator itself. And of course, nopCommerce have coded something for that. Hello.
I don't know if you want to scroll down to next
Yeah,
questions. There's a good handful. Yeah, there's a lot of other questions we might want to consider.
Yes, so he's saying that I think the folder name does not have to match the system name. And yes, I means it should match the system name, because based on the system name, it will try to find the folder. And yes, I've also mentioned that logo is not mandatory. Yes, I said that the logo file is not compulsory. If you are not mentioning any logo file, then there will be no image over here. So yes, it is not compulsory, not mandatory.
Yeah, we talked about that one. I brought that one up early.
Data access. So everyone is asked about the same thing, I think. Working with database migration. So yes, we can, what we can do, John, is we can means in the next meetup or next presentation, we can cover this database thing with the migration and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Means,
let's go into that.
Yeah.
What about that one? The for developing plugin, which I don't know if that one you could address or not.
Developing plugin which calculate price based on the product attributes. Just a minute. So for developing plugin which calculates price based on product attributes, how would I do that? Which class I should inherit or override? What namespaces are required? Plugin need to be aware of tier pricing attached to the product. Thank you.
I would understand that you may not have, this might be a long answer to address, but are there any aspects of these questions that you could touch on?
So I'm not sure. I will, to be honest, I'm not sure. But we will have to dig into the code, and we will have to identify, recognize which interface we can use. Again, we will have to go to the complete requirement, because there is possibility we can do it through many ways. Yeah.
I can understand that. Let's see, how to override a theme view with a plugin view. Looks like someone did kind of answer it down below. I don't know if you want to expand that.
So I think how to override theme view with plugin view. Yeah, you can means create your, because nopCommerce is already providing a default theme which is named as default clean. So you can create your own theme folder. And how to override theme view with plugin view. Yes, you can. Yes, you can do to that view engine. You can use view engines to override the default views with your plugins views.
How about that next question?
Yes. Yes, you can use anything you need. It is not compulsory like nop.plugin. For example, if talk about our company, we used to use NopAdvance.plugin. Something like that. You can name anything to your this solution. Okay, why did Nivo slider need to be disabled? Because the CSS, mean the images was hiding our contents. It was like the text was going behind of the images. That is why we needed to disable it. It was just the CSS issue, nothing else. It was not like it was conflict. The plugins were conflicting, but the design, the CSS was. I think I just in custom view engine you can do that thing.
Yep. Any advice on Steve's question or his comment?
Yeah. Again,
I don't know if it's it's not so much a question as that.
When will be added more widget sections? I didn't understand the thing.
So the one above, right above that, when it comes to adding, changing the underlying tables, whatnot. One thing I will go ahead and kind of share is that if you're actually creating new tables, you might want to put them in a different schema owner. So like nopCommerce uses DBO by default, you might want to use your company name or something like that as the schema owner. That way your tables stand out more so from the nopCommerce tables. If you have to modify certain nopCommerce tables, yes, that's a little different, of course. So you're moving on to the next one. When will be added more widget sections? Here we go. How can I relate the entities of my plugins? Oh, scroll up a little bit.
Sorry? Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, do you have any comments on that?
How can I relate the entities, my plugins within nopCommerce secondary and composite keys? Okay, I'm not sure about in this 4.3 and in this not sure about the 4.3 how we can do that, but if we talk about the previous versions, it was through the entity framework. So I think we means we couldn't do that. we will have to we will have to compulsively create a different DB context file. So that is why we were not able to make joins also to our tables, to the tables created to a plugin and the tables of the nopCommerce. And I'm not sure about 4.3 right now.
Let's go and move that next question. How about that? How can I develop a plugin that uses decimal quantity? What kind of advice would you give them on that? Don't do it, or do something to where it's a different column? What would you say to that?
Means I didn't understand. Means uses decimal quantity over. I'm not sure what this question is.
Yeah, it's more so I think when they change the data type on quantity.
No. No, means you are asking the changing the data type of default nopCommerce table?
That's my guess, yeah.
No. Yeah, so that can be do through the plugin. In that case, I think we will have to do customization, because nopCommerce will be using in their code using that field each and everywhere, means many ways that we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's scroll down a little bit more. How about How about David's question? When it comes to just whether it's Blazor or another UI framework, implementing that through a plugin.
Not sure about this also, John.
Well, the answer is you can, but it may not be so easy. It really depends. For Blazor itself, you could. I've been kind of playing with that, and we might have a future talk on that here in a couple months. So the answer is you could, but it's probably not going to be as easy as you think. But yeah, as other things get kind of flushed out there, it might get easier on Blazor in particular. Let's move on to the next question. I don't know if that's really a question. How about let's see, I'm trying to find an actual question. Go ahead and scroll down a little bit.
Yeah, we talk about Blazor. I didn't see yet anyone have implemented this thing, but I think it can be done. But again, we have to go through the complete requirement. But again, I would say that it must be like difficult to do that thing with nopCommerce.
Yeah, I know some organizations have implemented, let's say, Angular or React. And you most likely could do something similar with Blazor as well.
Okay.
Even though it's server-side and client. Let's go and scroll down a little bit more to see if we can find an actual question.
But yes, if we talk about the SignalR, we have done it. We have like implemented SignalR. It's like quite easy to implement SignalR in nopCommerce, the plugin.
That makes sense, yeah.
So folder will and just will patch based on it.
Yeah, go and scroll down a little further. A lot of these are just comments. Here's a question. Did you try using a higher order value in the view location expander context?
Did you try using higher order? I didn't understand this thing. Means is that
No.
no. Means I know. So did you try using a higher value? No. I haven't tried that yet. It was like the view location expanded context. Means the view engines. Okay, these are the comments, I think.
Go ahead and scroll down a little bit. There we go. How about this one? Any advice on that question? What is the best practice for implementing functionality to make external API calls when a transaction completes?
So yes, there's an example. I think they've implemented it in a payment plugin. It should be the PayPal standard. Either it's PayPal standard or let me check. If it is like redirection, yes. So there's a payment type is a redirection. Yes, so if it is definitely calling an API. So if you can go to this payments.paper standard plugin, I think you can find your answer in that plugin. And they have beautifully implemented everything in this paper standard. So about this question, you can go to the paper standard plugin, and I think you will get your answer. Best practices.
Okay, go ahead and scroll down a little further. There's a lot of comments that are just posted in here, not actual questions. So scroll down a little more. All right there. What is, yeah, I don't know. Is there really any best practices around creating like tax plugins or anything like that?
Okay. So what is the best practice creating a tax plugin and manage my own tax table? I have tried, but cannot register it as a tax provider. Wait. So if we talk about the tax providers, there are many. I think many. One there is a plugin provided by this. You can see here Tax Avalara, Tax Fixer, and again this is an example with table creations also fixed or by country state zip. So you can follow them, you can go through them, and I think you will find your answer. The best practices and everything.
Okay, I kind of scrolled through the rest of them and I didn't really see any other questions. There was a lot of comments and just a lot of conversation going on, which is great.
Okay.
Unless any more pop up here real soon. Yes, and by far, the forums are a great place to post a lot of these questions. Yes, he did. All right. Is there anything else you want to share, Sandeep?
No, that's it from my end. So I will be stop sharing my screen now so you can continue.
Okay, so, all right. Actually, here's a question in general. When it comes to searching the forums easily, I don't know, is there any advice there that you might have? Tend to just use Google to hit the forums with the site. I'm going to post a couple things as we wrap this up. One of them is I noticed in the comments of the meetup that a lot of people were having trouble connecting. I didn't connect through that link in particular, so it could have been a copy paste thing. I'm not exactly sure, but next time I join the meetup, I'll make sure I use that particular link to make sure there's no problems. But it looks like a lot of people got it resolved, which is good. Also, so next month, nopTemplates is going to do a talk on theme development. So that'll be Tuesday, September 15th. And just to wrap all this up, if you do want to give a presentation or sponsor a meetup, just email me at john@nopacademy.com. And
so John,
sorry, yes.
John, sorry to interrupt you. So yes,
Right
one thing I would like to clear over here. So I just go through all of the comments, and I think they had a really great confusion over here.
Yes.
So let me clear that thing. Here is the plugin. Plugin, basic plugin. So this is the system name of our plugin. So this is the identification of a plugin. So it is not compulsory. Yes, it is not compulsory to set the output path same as the system name over here. So what nopCommerce does is it will go through each and every folders of this plugin. So what nopCommerce does, it will iterate to each and every folders. First, it will go and find a plugin.json file in each directory. If it is fine, then only it will proceed considering it as a plugin. So yes, so system name means it is not necessary that the system name and the output folder path should be the same. The system name is just the identification of your plugin used. You can use it anywhere for means, and again, if you, but yes, so, but calling this view, the path, let me show you. Here you have to mention the output folder path, the same, not the system name. So if, for example, you have set it to anything else like NopAdvance.basic plugin, the output folder path, then you have to mention it over here, not the system name. So I think that is, I just went through all of the comments, so it was like a great confusion over there. I think now it is clear for everyone. Yeah, okay, John, thank you. You can continue now.
All right. Well, thanks for clarifying that. And yeah, we're going to go and wrap this up. The recording of this will be posted on the nopCommerce YouTube channel within the next couple of days, or definitely sometime by next week. Yes, thank you for joining us, and we'll see y'all next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Bye.
I just came in and it's ended.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gracias de
Thanks.
Colombia.
Thank you very much.